Hello, everyone. My name is Mirna, and on behalf of the Mindalia TV team, welcome to Mindalia live streaming, where thousands of people around the world gather to see the lectures and interviews organized by Mindalia TV. Today with us is Ana Rosa Najera. Ana Rosa is a licensed clinical social worker of Colombian heritage. She is a resilience coach. Before starting with Ana Rosa, we want to remind you that Mindalia's mission is to share information that can help raise the level of consciousness around the world and that you can help us by subscribing to our channel, leaving us a positive comment down this video, or sharing it with someone that you know that is going to benefit of the content that we're going to be developing here today. Also, while we are live streaming, like right now, we have the active chat. Is the screen that you're going to be seeing here on my side. And through there, you can interact with us. You can ask your questions. We just please ask you to follow the format, the word question in caps, and the actual question you have in relation, of course, with the topic that we're going to be talking today. Last but not least, Mandalia wants you to collaborate with us by bringing your own valuable content. And for that, you can go to our website, click on the link on top of the page, and that link is going to take you to a form that you can fill out for our technical team to be getting in contact with you. Also, remember that you can collaborate with us in Portuguese, in Spanish, or in English. We have three different channels: Mindalia Televisão, which is the Portuguese branch, Mindalia Televisión, and Mindalia TV English. And you can visit our different pages and find out what we are giving you daily there. Information as beautiful and as interesting as the one you see on Mindalia TV. I'm not going to delay this any further, and I'm going to leave you with Ana Rosa. Ana, welcome to Mindalia live streaming. The screen is yours.
Thank you, Mirna. And thank you, everybody that woke up early to have a conversation about how to bounce back from life's challenges. Like Mirna was saying, my name is Ana Rosa. I am a licensed clinical social worker. I like to tell people that I've been a social worker since I was a child because it really is those values of social work, of supporting people within the context of what they're experiencing, and that has really been who I've been my entire life. So I'm so happy to be here with Mindalia TV to share this work with you all as well. Specifically, the work that I'm going to be talking about is something that I was certified in about 2 years ago now. I'd always been a social worker and always worked with families. I worked a lot of time with families with young children and then working with families that were involved in the child welfare system. So it's always either at the beginning, just supporting people through child development, and then during difficult times. So that really kind of makes sense. Why we kind of framed this talk particular, because here it is, how to bounce back, right? Something that we learn so much from children when they're 0 to 5, because that's exactly what they're doing. They're bouncing back, they fall, they're learning how to walk, but they get back up. What can we learn from them? And then as far as life challenges, I think I've really learned so much in the child welfare system, with youth being removed from their homes and supporting families throughout that process. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. And when we think about life's challenges, just starting from there, with life's challenges, a lot of it is things that happen to the individual, but sometimes those things that happen to the individual are part of a system, right? So if we are not taking care of all the people that government is paying for, let's say, or we're paying for as tax folks, then it becomes a systems problem. Why is it that some communities have their health outcomes are worse than other communities? There are why do some schools have more support than other schools in other communities? So what is it that we're seeing system wide for folks? And those are those then become systems issues, and we want to look at them from a systems issues, because if we're talking about bounce back, there's some things that we can control, of that we can bounce back from, and we can have different behaviors and change the way we think. But there's certain things that if they're systems problems, then we can't necessarily bounce back from them. Maybe what we could do is learn how to manage ourselves within the system. right? So that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. Now, when I'm saying bounce back, I'm really meaning that ability to have something happen and then be able to overcome it in a different way than pushing through it. I was recently given I just got a message from my supervisor about the translation of resilience in Spanish, and it said "echa pa'lante," which means keep it pushing forward, which makes a lot of sense in Spanish because we do say that a lot. Like, yeah, they echa pa'lante, they keep it going, which is great. It's something that's celebrated. But if we're looking at it through a resilience lens, it's not really giving it what we're wanting to say, right? Because it isn't about echando pa'lante. It isn't about pushing forward. It's about stopping and reflecting. It's about stopping and pausing and taking an inventory. That's really what that bounce back, that resilience. It isn't about grit. It isn't about what we celebrate of just keep going to reach your goals. Um, that comes at a cost, and that comes at a cost to our health, right? So when if we're really giving ourselves that pause, that stop, um, the first thing we want to do is we want to check: is my pause restful? So I think it might be a good idea just to give us that little practice right now. I think sometimes it's easier to experience something than to hear about it. So we'll be doing a little bit of both today. So what I want to do is invite you to practice a tool with me, a tool that helps with the pause, that helps with building resilience over time. It's a self inventory. Everything that we do is really designed as an invitation. So, the invitation: is this something that you are interested in trying to see how it would feel? Um, and then, if the answer is yes, then I invite you to keep going. If the answer is no, then take a restful pause and maybe even looking around the room at your environment just to get yourself in the present moment. So, what we're going to be doing is I'm going to ask you to tune into your thoughts. I'm going to ask you to tune into your emotions. And then lastly, I'm going to ask you to tune into your body sensations. And the reason that I'm doing that is because I just want us to get a little bit of introduction to sensory awareness, right? It's the first key for that bounce back, right? That's just a cleansing of the palate to get us where we want to be, right? In the present moment. So, you guys, if you're interested, you can have your eyes open or you can have them closed if that feels safe to you. If you do have them open, then maybe just a soft gaze on a fixed thing, right? Just so you're focusing internally, if that feels good. Just a little settle. So, I'm going to invite you now to focus on your thoughts. When you're focusing on your thoughts, I don't want you to focus on what those thoughts are and then get into a cycle about it, right? Just observe the thoughts, maybe noticing how much space they're taking in your head, how loud they are, almost like if we're looking at a movie. Those are just the thoughts, and we're just noticing how they are. That's all. Next, I'm going to invite you to focus on your emotional state. It could be connected to your thoughts, it could not be connected to your thoughts. But what you want to do is just kind of feel, notice what they are, again, without judging it, but just something that we're observing on the outside and noting those are the thoughts today in this moment. And how much space are they taking? How much are they pulling at your sweater, right? Pulling at your sleeve. Lastly, we come into our physical sensations. What we could do is we could start from the tip of the head to the tops of the toes. And really just doing a scan, we might notice tension in our hot spot places, maybe. We might actually notice, oh, my ear feels pretty good, or hey, my forearm feels pretty good. Maybe my back is tight, maybe my neck is tight. Oh, my thighs feel very heavy. Wow, I have a lot of mobility in my toes. Just being curious and noticing, and it's really just a time to take an inventory on where you are right now. Next, staying where you're at, I want to invite you to give yourself a number between 1 and 10 of how you're feeling. 10 is stressed, right? Tight. 1 is relaxed, loose, peaceful. Don't worry about where you're at. Just take an inventory. When you have your number, I invite you to just come back online, and really kind of give yourself a moment to say, what was that like? How did that feel? To take that little bit of time to check into myself, to check into my thoughts, to check into my emotions, and to check into my body sensations without judging it, but just to know where I'm at. The reason that this becomes important to do, this act of self awareness, is because it gives you information to know, where are you in your nervous system? How are you reacting? How are you showing up in the world? Again, knowing that there's systems that are going to impact that. But just in this moment, whether you're on your way to work, whether you are, we're just going to pretend that we didn't get that phone call. There we go. All right. There we go. Back. So that's important to ask yourself those questions. Know where you're at. This is going to give you information. Okay, when you're looking at it through a nervous system lens, you kind of need to know, what am I looking for, right? So we're looking for a couple of things. Let's just say we're going to say, let's explain our nervous system in three different ways. One, I'm relaxed, right? That's the one that we're all so familiar with. I'm enjoying the holiday season. I'm interacting with others. I'm going to holiday parties. I'm excited about spending time with my family. I definitely feel that way right now. And that's because I'm in what we call the social nervous system, right? I'm in tune, I'm feeling relaxed. And those are some of the things that I'm noticing. I'm really wanting to engage with people right now. Um, Sometimes we can move into other parts of other states in our nervous system, such as stress, right? This is the one that we're also familiar with. It's can typically be called fight or flight, right? When we're here in fight or flight, we are heart is beating fast, our mouth is dry, everything just feels very fast. Thoughts are going really fast. So maybe when you were taking your temperature, when you were checking in, maybe you noticed that. Maybe you noticed that there was a lot of movement happening um, in your thoughts. And maybe it was a lot of different kinds of thoughts, or maybe it was just one thing that you were really focused on. Maybe you were feeling anxiety. Maybe you were feeling tension. Maybe there was anger there. Those are typically signs of fight or flight. So when you are kind of really, anything could get you really upset, when you're very irritable. Um, this happens to me very fairly frequently. I'll notice it if I am, for example, driving. This is a big one that a lot of people actually make fun of me about because this work that I'm doing is really about mindfulness, mindfulness and movement for some resilience. Yet I have these moments where I'm driving and I get very upset. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. I know I'm not the only one. But yet this, it almost feels like it kind of takes over. like it's like this is not who I want to be, but yet I'm screaming at this person that they're just trying to get to work or whatever they're trying to do. So I'm taking it personally, like their decisions, the way they drive. Um, and that's always a sign for me and other people around me to say, maybe you need to tune back in and see, is this response appropriate for the situation? Um, and then I get the ability to practice, one of these tools, right? So it's kind of what we do. We check in to what's called the self awareness, right? Then once we check in and we know where we're at, we have our number from 1 to 10. We ask ourselves again, is this appropriate for the situation? If it isn't, then we say, would a tool right now help me get to a place that I want to be, right? Sometimes we need to have that stress, right? If I'm being chased by a car, or you know s- I'm in my car and one of these people that makes me so angry wants to cut right in front of me, I better move quick, because that's what I need to survive. And that's how these automatic states that we have are designed for us to survive. And thankfully we have used them. And what happens is this, that we have used them so many times that now our body says, this situation is happening. I'm starting to feel that heartbeat quickly. I'm starting to feel like maybe I'm in danger. Boom, this fight or flight thing, this is going to save us. So, this is what we're going to do. Unfortunately, the body doesn't really know the difference of, I'm stressed because I have to take a test, um, or I have this big project at work, or I'm stressed because I'm being chased. So our bodies kind of always react in the same way, which can be very taxing. Kind of to put that much energy all the time into movement can be very exhausting, and affect our health over time, which is why also we have, and it affects our ability to bounce back. Because how can I bounce back from something when I'm in it, and I'm constantly in it because I constantly think that I'm being in threat. Um, there are plenty of times that we are in threat, and there are times that we are just acting as if, because that's what our body is used to. And so, to help with that bounce back is to practice those times to not be in that space of threat by calming our system down. And that's what we do. That's what we do. And that's why I wanted to bring this conversation to you all today about how to bounce back from life's challenges, um, particularly those that are feel more that they're in our control. So if that sounded like you, if that sounded like, yes, that happens to me when I'm driving, or yes, that happens to me when I'm around this person that I don't know what they do, but everything about them is annoying, and then that could be a sign that your system is in fight or flight. If that's the case, there's always this tool that we used earlier that you can use to help you check in and maybe calm it down. I did want to introduce another tool to you all that I actually use a lot too. And I was using it as we were doing the first exercise, the inventory, right? And it was my breath, right? I took a couple of deep breaths, right? Just to kind of get to the moment, to stop, to pause. I'm going to invite us now to do it again. If that's something that you would like to do, to try it and see how it feels for you today. Knowing that it's going to depend on where you're at in your nervous system, that will impact how you feel. Okay, your experiences are going to impact how you feel about it. So just take everything into consideration and give yourself permission to be where you're at. So, we're going to do a settling breath. With this breath, what I really invite you to do is take your exhale and make it longer than your inhale. The reason we do that is because that longer exhale is actually brings us into what's called the parasympathetic nervous system, or that calm, rest and relaxation place where we all want to live anyways. It's what we all work for. It's what we put all this effort into, this self-care, because it's exhausting to be in the other place. And we need it. We need those rests. We need that for our bounce back. We need to bounce back from something to something, right? So we can have the strength when we need it. So what I'll do is I'll count us. Um, I'll inhale for 2, and I'll exhale for 4, and I'll do that for a while just to kind of get a tempo and a rhythm. Feel free to tune out my voice if that's not restful, right? You can do it at your own pace. So we'll give us an opportunity afterwards to do it at your own pace as well. If at any point you don't feel comfortable, right? Remember when we did the number at the beginning, say you were at a 6. Well, don't get to an 8, don't get to a 7. The idea is to get you to, it's called down regulating your nervous system, and go to that place that we were talking about earlier, right? Where we are socializing, etc. So we really use this if we're kind of just getting irritable, just at the kind of beginning stages of fight or flight. There's the nervous system can be explained in a lot of different ways and a lot of different um, um, stages with it. But we're just, for the purposes of our talk today, just going to keep it very simple. Right? The things that we experience every day, stress, and life's challenges. So when we're in that moment, and we notice that maybe we want to bring it down, um, then we can try this. So what we're going to do is you can have your eyes open and closed, whatever feels good to you. I'm going to inhale for 2 and exhale for 4 and inhale for 2 and exhale for 4. Inhaling for 2 and exhaling for 4. At your own pace. Last one. Check in with yourself and notice. Now, what was that like? Now, what did I notice? Did anything shift? Did anything change? Have my thoughts changed? What about my emotions? What about my physical sensations? My heartbeat? My muscles? Am I more aware of things now? Am I less aware of things? I mentioned less aware because in thinking about this nervous system and thinking about this stress and relaxation cycle, right? Because we went through the relaxation with the social nervous, we went through the stress um, with the fight or flight, and there's actually another state. There's another thing that happens, and it's actually been talked about a lot lately, and that's freeze. Freeze is really that place where you are frozen, right? Where you don't react, where you can't speak, um, where you just don't feel, right? This is also part of our survival. A great example is, and a lot of these examples, I really want to say, if they've happened to you, take that extra time to take a pause, right? You need to do that breath again. If that worked for you, do that breath again, right? If you need to kind of stop and maybe just look around the room and observe the colors and the textures and all of that, then that's important to do too. Because sometimes when we hear stories, and we've heard lots of stories, right, lately of different experiences that people have had that we might have had, it could almost bring the body as if it's happening right now. Because again, the body doesn't know the difference between this is a memory, this is a story, this is happening right now. So then our body starts to um, pump out those hormones and those things that happen when we're in that moment for survival, because that's what the body is designed to do. So, if, say, for example, um, as a child, there was a lot of fighting, parental fighting in the home, right? That as a child can feel very unsafe. Now, in looking at, one of the things that's used for survival is that fight or flight. As a child, you can't fight your parent. Um, you can't run away from home, age of 6, right? So, what can you do but just freeze, try to make yourself small and try to pretend that it's not happening, and it could bring it back. So it's important to have that self awareness. It's that first layer, right? That's why it's so important. That's why we talk about it right at the very beginning, um, to be able to stay in the moment. So that's what it's designed to do. It's designed to, I can't fight myself out of it. I can't run myself out of it. I'm going to just pretend it isn't happening. I'm going to just numb it out. And as an adult, we could be very familiar with numbing out. We do it a lot. We do it a lot when we watch television. We do it a lot um, with drinking, for example. Whatever it is that we're doing, sometimes it's like, no, this is what I do to relax. But if you take your temperature, right, like what we did earlier, and you ask yourself, is this relaxing or am I tuning out? The relaxing, would really look like interactive, patient. Our breathing is even, our digestion is on point, right? We're able to, the tone of our voice is fluid. Um, our face has a lot of expressions, right? And if you think about what I'm saying here with the freeze, is that's kind of like how you know, right? That you're like in that relaxed place. And then how do you know that you're in that freeze place? It's really more about being disconnected. When someone's like, "Hey, pass me the remote," you're like, "No one's home. Pass me the remote." No one's home. We're not paying attention. We're non-responsive. We're shut down. We're checked out. Um, we really might feel like I need that. I need that because I work so hard and my work is so stressful and my family is so stressful and life is so stressful. Um, there's a lot of life's challenges that are stressful. And they are. Um, and there's a place for that. The idea is that it's your choice to decide, you know, um, which one sounds more appealing, which one feels more appealing in your body. The love and the happiness and the joy and the even mood, or the tuned out and not being connected, being numb, apathetic. It's just there's too much going on. We can't fix it. I'm just going to I'm just going to do me, you know. We say that, but then oftentimes we don't even do ourselves. And when I say that, of course, I mean taking care of ourselves, our health, our well-being. We can't because it becomes too much. And there's no judgment on it. There's a lot going on in the world, and it's a scary time, and it's an unsettling time, and it's an uncertain time, especially for folks on the fringes. That's a systems thing. That's important to know that, so that we can have that compassion, and we can work for those things to support everybody in having attunement and having resilience. That's the kind of world that that we want to that I want to create together with you. And the best way to do that is to be able to bounce back and to have that resilience. So that's why I wanted to just have this little chat. With that freeze, there are also things that we can do to bring ourselves through fight or flight and down to our social nervous system. It's really important that that freeze is also designed for survival. So we can be very grateful to that freeze. It may have saved some of our lives, but we don't have to always live there, right? So if we have time for maybe one more, which it looks like I'm getting the nod that we do, then we can practice this quick tool that we can use when we are in that freeze. And it's that orienting that I kind of talked about a little bit, right? So when we're really in that place where we feel numb, which it's hard to recognize, that's the tough part. Is it's hard to recognize it when we're in that place because we're tuned out. So if you kind of notice yourself a little spacey, check in and maybe orient yourself back, right? So we're kind of taking our outside and seeing if it helps us tune into our inside. If it doesn't feel good, stop, don't do it. Maybe finding other tools, like if breathing work for you, try breathing. Or just grounding, right? Checking in. Whatever works for you. That's really the important part here. So just starting with our eyes to look around, right? Almost like we're assessing the situation, looking at the colors. Maybe you notice some noises from inside of the room that you're in, or the car, or wherever, the office. Maybe you kind of get a whiff of a smell that kind of tunes in. You start to move your neck. That becomes important. You're moving your neck around so you're really able to assess all the little bits and pieces around. Right? That's important. Listening, seeing, tasting that little bit of coffee that's still in your mouth from the morning. That exhale, that loud exhale tells me you're down regulating. You're getting to a more calm place, right? If I yawn, if I sigh, if my stomach starts to gurgle, because that means that my digestion is back on, I don't have to run away from anything. My body can focus on all of its systems. My eyes start to water. Those are my signs. Those are my signs. Okay, good. Now I'm not at an 8. So maybe I'm at a 6. Maybe I'm at a 4, right? I believe that we have run out of time. Let me just check in here. So I know that we'll be having some questions. So during this time, while we are waiting for the questions. You could take your temperature one last time. One last time. Know that these are tools for you to use anytime, any place. The more you use them, the more you'll be able to bounce back, the more resilient you'll be for life's challenges. Imagine being at a place that you and your brothers and sisters are so resilient that we can actually look at those systems issues, that we can actually change those systems issues, that we can actually come together to create a different world where everybody matters and everybody has a vote and everyone's health income outcomes are important, are well. And if we just continue to practice this work, so we do this work with individuals. We do, so we get to kind of have one-on-one every week to kind of practice. And the more you tune in, the more you really notice what's changed in my system. How am I reacting to others? How am I reacting to the people that I love? How am I treating myself? How am I not judging myself? How am I not shaming myself? Um, it is the gift that keeps on giving. It really is. I can honestly say that from my own personal experience and those that I have had the pleasure of working with. That's really one of the things to notice. But it takes time because we're really just saying bouncing backs from life's challenges. We're not saying kind of opening up everything that has ever happened to us. First, let's be able to bounce back. First, let's be able to feel safe within ourselves. That's step one, two, three, and four, right? Because that's a practice that happens over time. And then we can go on in there and see what are some of those stories, what are some of those patterns that kind of keep coming up for us. But first, we just start with step one. That becomes really important. Just step one. So I want to invite you all while we are waiting to take that last inventory. Take that last, what are my thoughts? Not worrying about how they're different or not, but how about the pace of them? How about the space that they take up in your head, right? How much they want to be the boss of you. Next, the emotions, right? Looking at them. How are they? How are they settled in? Where are they at? How much are they wanting to be the boss? And lastly, your physical sensations. From the tip of your head to the tips of your toes, noting, noting anything. Tension, ease, alignment, hot spots. We're looking at the hot spot. Is it less intense? Takes up less space? Does the part that feels good take up more space? Just observing. Maybe something calls out to you. If it feels good to observe, continue to observe. If it doesn't feel good to continue to observe, you can come back out, take a look around the room, right? The important thing is that you decide. You are actually the boss of this experience, right? You get to decide what feels good. You get to decide how much feels good. And if it doesn't feel good, you can decide to do something else. That's the important thing about being able to bounce back from life's challenges. There's enough things in our lives that are very prescriptive. Take two and call me in the morning. Meditate for 20 minutes. Maybe it doesn't feel good to meditate for 20 minutes. Maybe it starts to move us up on that number. Oh, I'm starting to feel anxious. I'm starting to think about all these things that I don't want to think about. Then it's not time. Then you're not ready to do so. Then just get back out and come in, right? So it really is more about letting your body be your guide to what feels good. Not what I should do, not what I'm expected to do, right? That's what becomes important. And that's the invitation. And if we do it enough over time, then that becomes our new normal. Then that becomes our new automatic. And the thing is, when we're changing behaviors, habits, we have to do it. We have to do it. For me, I wake up in the morning before I grab my phone to see what's happening. Swipe, swipe, swipe. Facebook, swipe, 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 or swipe on Instagram. Um, I'm first checking in with swiping me, right? How am I doing? Sometimes I'll wake up and my heart's beating really fast. I'm like, oh, I got to pay attention. There's something that's making me feel like I'm in fight or flight. There's something that's going on that's making me feel unsafe. What is it? What is it? Or just like, do you need to feel this way right now? Like as you wake up, you don't do some breaths, right? And that's what I'll do. And I'll also, when I come home from work, yes, I'll turn on the television. But before that, take a little bit of time and tune back in. Say, well, where am I at? What am I noticing? Because there's a lot of life's challenges. They don't always have to be the big ones. Sometimes it's the little ones, the little irritations, the microaggressions over time, right? You feel like you have to be on the defensive all the time. It's exhausting. So sometimes we do, and sometimes we can feel safe so that when we do need to be on the defensive, we have the strength, the fluidity to be able to move between those. And if the best that I can do is numb out in that moment, then I'm going to allow myself that moment. Then I'm going to come back to the present moment. And that's really what we're wanting to do. This really creates the repatterning of your nervous system that happens, and that's um, what creates that resilience, what creates that bounce back, right? That is the invitation. I would love to hear about what your experience was like practicing these tools, to hear about what you liked, to hear about what you didn't like, and know that if you didn't like it, then you don't have to do it. And it could also be where you're at in your nervous system. It could be, you know, that that made me more stressed. That made me more tuned out, right? Well, then that wasn't the one. So it really is important to know those um, those differences, right? The difference of being tuned out and the difference of being able to be social and connected. When we're in that place, we could really get, we have a clear mind, we have a positive outlook, we are peaceful, we're at ease, we're curious, we're creative. Now, that is a place to create solutions. I mean, create is in the word, creative, same word, right? Versus hopeless, stuck, overwhelmed, scattered, spacey, confused, a blank mind, forgetful. That does not seem like a place to create solutions, nor does overfocused or unfocused or difficult concentration or negative outlook or rigid, repetitive thoughts or rapid thoughts. Even if we just look at that, that is not a place to come up with solutions. That is a place that we can feel, of course, sometimes, but it's not where we're going to create the solutions. The solutions are really going to come from that calm place. So, how can I practice that place? How can I practice with others? You know, how when you are around somebody and they're just so positive and alive and it's contagious. And then you start to kind of feel that way and you guys start talking about things and it's exciting, it's electric. We can do this and we can do that and we should try this and we should try that. Um and you really can feel that energy, that aliveness. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. And sometimes we have the opposite experience, don't we? Well, where it can just feel like heaviness, brought down, and just who cares? Forget it. What's the point? We don't always have to be in that energetic place. It does help for solutions. Sometimes we need to be in those other places. It does help for survival. We have plenty of reasons to be in that place. And we have plenty of reasons to be in our social nervous system. The more that we practice those tools, the more reasons we find. So that is what is it's how we really bounce back of life's challenges over time. We tune in, we assess where we're at. It's going okay. We pick a tool, we bring it to a place that's more appropriate for the situation. Check in, right? We do that over time, but when that car comes again, that gets me so mad, saying things that I then regret, that people make fun of me. Um, Maybe I'm not going to be as upset. Maybe I'm not going to feel this person is trying to be disrespectful and ruin my day, and they're not the only ones that I have to go to work. I have to go to work too, and this whole story that we create. Maybe I could just listen to music instead, sing to my favorite artist. Um, it feels better. It feels better to be there without judging myself because it's a process. And this is a process that's going to happen over time. It's going to take time to get to that place where I'm going to be that, oh, not take anything personally. Oh, it's not realistic. I can have a move towards. I would like to experience more of this. So, so that's what I'm going to do, and that's the invitation for you to do that as well. And over time, and I am definitely here to support you through that process.
Thank you so much, Ana Rosa, for sharing with us your knowledge and your time. We're going to go to the Q&A section really quick, but before that, we want to remind our audience that Mindalia's mission is to share information that can help raise the level of consciousness around the world, and that you can help us by subscribing to our channel if you haven't done it yet, leaving us a positive comment down this video, or sharing it with someone that you know that is going to benefit of the content that we are developing here today. Now with the Q&A, you are going to be hearing my voice, but you're not going to see me, okay?
Okay. Hmm.
The first question that we have, can you recommend an exercise for stage fear?
Mm, okay. So, stage fear, I'm assuming this is how I'm interpreting it, a stage fright. So, for example, like if you have to you talk online, for example, or a play or a commercial or television. Am I understanding that correctly? To present, to present something so people are watching you.
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay. Um, Sometimes things get lost in translation with the languages and the things, right? And there's cultural differences. So, always good to check in. So, I think that the question is really more about, did any of the tools that we use, what did you notice? Because it's different for each person. So for me, um, when I did the settling breath today, the breathing, where my exhale was longer than my inhale, that really brings me to a much more calm place. And I could do it for a short time or a long time. And I noticed that what I feel in my body is that I feel like I'm in a hammock and I'm being rocked. And I feel like I'm in a hammock being rocked in the ocean. It's just like all these things that I experience and feel and think. And it feels good. And it helps me get, okay, here, right now, right? Because I think part of the thing that gets in the way of that stage fright is I think of freeze, you know, because it what if I forget my lines, right? What are people going to think of me? So it could really kind of dance between um, that anxiety that happens in fight or flight and that freeze that happens where we're just like, you know, right? So there's always that. Orienting that we practice of kind of looking around. It's really kind of like taking your exterior world with all five of your senses and seeing, does that help me get into my interior world? Because at the end of the day, um, the fright isn't because of the knowledge or the you've practiced it, right? You're ready to do it, but it's like a fear that you are not going to perform the way that you know that you can perform, is my assumption. So it's really kind of, if I can get present and I can be clear about um, who I am, right? And that could be by using one of those tools, then that's a good way to go. And there's definitely opportunity, like I was sharing, to practice this work over time with a coach, a therapist, a facilitator, um, or in a workshop. So there's some options there, but definitely, I would continue to practice these tools, picking a time that's comfortable and works for your schedule, and seeing what you notice. Good luck.
Thank you. What can I do to help my son with the anxiety of going to school?
Mm. So there's so many things that could be going on with that. The very first thing, and you mentioned sun. So to me, that tells me that, and they're obviously school aged. It Whenever there's a concerning behavior for children, and even for ourselves, the first thing to always do is to check with the doctor. That's important. That's like check one. Check one. Check with the pediatrician. Is there something going on that organically, right, in my son's body, that could be affecting this behavior? And then the next thing is I'm thinking, my therapist hat is always like, what is there something that happened? Is there a trauma that occurred? When did this change happen? What else was happening around that time? That's just good information to know how to manage that. And depending on the age of the child, I mean, sometimes it's like, it's a transition, right? They're transitioning into preschool, or they're transitioning to middle school, or they're transitioning to high school, or even college, right? It's the unknown, and the unknown really has us, right? I need to assess the situation and to make sure that I'm safe, right? I'm doing this orienting, right? So that's something that can help. And the other thing that I tell parents when they're working with their children is the best way to help my child through this experience is for me to be in a calm and settled place, right? So for me to practice these tools, the things that make me be more calm, the things that help me be more present and to hold space. And instead of being like, why did you do that? Or don't do that, trying to find a solution so quickly, is to tune in myself so that they could, how we're saying when we're around people that are positive, we start to, right? The same thing. They could bounce off of me, right? And what are the things that we can do together to feel safe? Did we practice together, right? What are the things that make me feel safe? What could we do beforehand, right? Maybe we could wake up, we can have a routine that we wake up, but maybe we practice the tools and we check in with ourselves. And then, what is something that when I'm at school, I can use? And the good thing about the breath, that's why I like to share it with people so much, is you don't have to have your eyes closed for it. People don't have to know that you're doing it. So, they could be practicing that throughout the day. It's such a pity that it's such a short time that we have together. So a lot of the things, it's like Ana Rosa Najera on social media. Let's connect, and we could dig a little deeper into that for your son.
Thank you, Anna. The very last question for today. Can we also talk about resilience in a bullying scenario?
Yes. So that really becomes about that. Even if we think about, okay, bullying scenario, right? I'm assuming we're talking from the voice of the person being bullied, right? Because obviously the person who is the bully, that seems pretty clear that that's fight or flight. They're literally fighting, right? So that's really clear. So as somebody that's bullied, here I am in a situation where I am having to be in protection of myself, right? Physically or emotionally, right? So, whatever that is, I'm often going to be matched with this person, you know, as far as their nervous system. I'm going to be in fight or flight too, because I'm being threatened. So, I need to decide, am I going to run from the situation? Am I going to fight this situation? Or is this person so much more powerful than me, that I'm perceiving them to be so much more powerful than me? The only thing I could do is just like freeze and take it, you know? Um, so it really is, when we're in those situations, we can't make clear decisions to be able to do that. So it really also becomes, I need to feel safe, right? So I'm going to practice these things to help me feel safe. But also, I'm going to look at the system, right? I'm going to look at the system is, what is the school doing, the system of the school doing to keep my child safe, right? Maybe the child is not going to be able, if they're in fight or flight, or they're in freeze, they're not really going to be able to be like, I need help, right? They're just like survival, right? That's where they're at. And if we think about things in that way, but with the way we interact with others, it helps us really have so much more compassion and patience for people. Because it's like, why are they doing that? Like, so much judgment, right? So then it becomes, then me as the adult that still isn't paid because this is my child and I love my child, to go to the school and say, what get me, I need to be in my social nervous system so I can be creative, so I can be problem solving. And what is the support that I need as a parent to go to that school and say, what's going to be the plan here? Like, we need a plan. and to be that advocate. So sometimes it's like, how can we resource from each other? That's why we're a community, you know. Um, so hopefully that helps. And again, please reach out to me. We could talk about it more in depth.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Ana Rosa, where can our audience find you?
Well, thank you for asking that question because I do want to continue to stay connected. So I am on Facebook, I am on Instagram at Ana Rosa Najera with one N, and also my website is called Self Integration Guidance. So .com. And I would love, you can also find me through the We Bloom LB Collective. That's another place in Long Beach where a group of radical entrepreneurs have come together to help the community holistically, as well as lumostransforms.com and the resilience.toolkit.com. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It has been a pleasure having you. Thank you again for sharing with us your time, your knowledge. It's very precious. To our audience, we remind you that you can see this conference in Mindalia.com and you can see it in our YouTube channel. Remember that you can help Mindalia's mission, which is share information that can help raise the level of consciousness around the world. You can help us by subscribing to our channel if you haven't done it yet, by leaving us a positive comment down this video, or by sharing it with someone that you know that is going to benefit of the content that we're having here today. Ana Rosa, once again, thank you for being with us. Thank you again for joining us every day. And until next time, bye bye.